During a hike through the woods, this person noticed something strange. In the distance, they spotted a lone, hooded figure, moving erratically. There was no music, no one else around, just the figure alone in the forest. The uploader said they were visibly shaken after witnessing it, and didn't stay to get closer or figure out what was happening. Some suggest it could be something harmless, like someone exercising or performing. Others think the setting, the clothing and the movements make it feel far more unsettling. It's enough to leave questions behind. So what did this person really witness that day in the woods? While exploring Gettysburg, this woman took multiple photos of the area. Most of them didn't capture anything unusual, but one photo stood out. She later shared it on Facebook. In the image, something can be seen between a tree and a bush on the left side. A white, translucent figure, almost resembling a person standing there. Some believe she may have captured something paranormal, while others think it could be light, shadow, or a camera artifact. So what do you see? During a hike deep in the woods, this woman captured something unusual. The footage shows a humanoid figure standing behind a tree. At first it barely moves, then suddenly the figure launches itself upward onto a high tree branch in one fast motion, reaching a height that would be difficult for a normal person to achieve without help. What makes the clip unsettling is how smooth the movement looks, almost effortless, with no visible hesitation. Some people believe it could be a person using momentum, editing, or a misleading camera angle. Others think the movement simply doesn't look natural. On August 30th, 2009, a trail camera captured something unusual in a national forest. In the picture, there appears to be a person wearing a full clown suit, standing among the trees. The face is turned directly toward the camera, as if it had noticed the device. Some believe it could simply be a prank, or someone walking through the forest in costume for unknown reasons. Others point out how strange it is for anyone to be dressed like that in such a remote place during the heat of summer. Investigations were carried out, but no clear answers were ever found. What would a clown be doing in the middle of a forest? A couple was hiking through a dense forest early in the morning when their walk started to feel different. At first, they ignored small sounds like twigs snapping and leaves moving, assuming it was just normal wildlife. But the noises kept following them, staying consistent as they moved deeper into the trees. They began noticing movement between the bushes, something large enough to suggest it wasn't a small animal. What was following them? Something dangerous? Luckily, they made it out safely. Two men were driving down a quiet road in the evening when they suddenly heard strange screaming noises coming through the car radio. Confused, they started recording and slowed down to figure out where the sound was coming from.
Actually have to be here right now in the middle of the fucking night. Well, that's how. Dude, shut up. Wait. Bro, turn it up right now. Bro, that's screaming on the radio, man. Push, man. Bro, what the fuck is that? Go now, go!
In the gap, there appeared to be a pale, face-like shape that looked almost like a girl staring out from the darkness. The moment they noticed it, the driver panicked and quickly drove away. Whether it was real or staged is unknown, but it's definitely creepy. A woman named Elizabeth Stratton was hiking alone with her dog in Canning Mills Reserve when something started to feel off. At first, she noticed a man behind her on the trail, nothing unusual, until she realized he was matching her pace. When she walked faster, he did the same. Then things escalated. The man began removing his clothes and even tied a shirt over his face while continuing to follow her. Realizing the danger, she called emergency services and sprinted through the bush, focused only on getting away. Moments later, police sirens could be heard approaching, but when she looked back, the man was gone. Despite a rapid response, he was never found. What would have happened if she hadn't acted so quickly? Reddit user PrimarySherbert274 shared a post about a photo their friend took while walking alone at night. They said they usually go on walks together and often talk about paranormal topics, but this time the friend took a longer, darker route alone and started taking random photos along the way. In one of the pictures, something unusual showed up in the distance. At first, they thought it was just an animal, but after increasing the exposure, a strange silhouette became visible with an unclear shape and outline. They later went back to the same area at night and claimed they heard noises, almost like something was following them, but didn't go far enough to check. Some commenters believed it's just an animal like a fox or deer, but most agreed with the poster, thinking the shape looks too unusual, too humanoid. What's your opinion? After a hike, this woman returned to her car and noticed something crawling. At first, it just looked like a bright green spider, but then she looked closer. There was a pattern on its back, one that looked almost like a smiling face. The spider was later identified as a happy-faced spider, a real species known for these unusual markings. Some have clear smiley faces, while others have more abstract patterns, but the resemblance is hard to ignore. They are mostly found in Hawaii and are considered harmless, despite how strange they look. A woman was hiking alone on a small mountain trail in California's Humboldt County, a route that takes around an hour and a half to reach the summit. The area was quiet and relatively empty, with dense forest and limited visibility along parts of the path. As she neared the top, she passed a man in his 50s who was coming down the trail. After passing him, she looked back and saw the man suddenly turn around and say something like, "You came alone," before starting to run toward her. The woman immediately panicked and began running back down the mountain, switching paths and trying to stay quiet to avoid being followed. She later said she was too afraid to scream, worried it might make it easier for him to track her location. Eventually, she encountered 2 other hikers on the trail who helped escort her safely down the mountain. The man was not clearly identified, and his intentions were never fully explained. A mother named Aisha Wilson Bent received a photo from her son Gabriel while he was at a nearby playground with his brother. The picture showed the 2 young boys smiling, one of them sitting inside a set of tires. At first, everything seemed normal, but when she looked closer, she noticed something. Her boys didn't appear to be alone. Inside the tire next to one of them, there was a shape. When zoomed in, it appeared to resemble a young girl, staring out from the darkness. Aisha asked her sons if they had edited the image, but they insisted they hadn't touched it. The moment left them shaken, and one of the boys was reportedly too scared to sleep alone that night. So what was really with them at the playground that day? This clip was captured by a hiker somewhere in Southern California on April 18, 2026. The hiker didn't understand what the bright light was, so they zoomed in and recorded. The footage is shaky and unclear, but it shows a glowing figure or object shifting in a way that doesn't feel like a normal light. The brightness makes it hard to identify any solid shape behind it. Some say it looks like a woman holding a very bright lantern or light source, but even if that's the case, it still gives off strange vibes, especially being captured in the middle of nowhere. Reddit user Tariq Yonis 90 and his friend were using the Randonautica app when it led them to a forest area. He claims in earlier trips they kept finding strange clues, like a basket on a tree containing a knife and a note with coordinates directing them elsewhere. In this particular video, they discovered this.
Do you guys see what we're seeing right now? Oh shit, man. Is that that's a spine, isn't it? Oh my god, look at this. What the f? And look, my camera's all tripping out now. It doesn't want to focus. I'm trying to show you guys. Look at this. Why is it? Look, every time I get close to it, my camera starts tripping out. Yeah, this is a bunch of pictures of spine. I had scoliosis when I was younger.
That right there, that's very sensitive information. That's like it's protected by the hip.
It is, I know. And how the hell did he get that? I don't even know if that's me or not.
It was what looked like a human spine hanging from a tree, along with other strange objects nearby. Shortly after, they reportedly felt like they were being followed and left the area. The OP later clarified it wasn't a real spine, but a medical model. Still, a strange thing to witness in the forest. Maybe it was staged, maybe it wasn't. A group of hikers in California's Big Sur wilderness made a disturbing discovery on April 9, 2026. While hiking along the remote Pine Ridge Trail near Sykes Hot Springs, deep in the Ventana wilderness, they came across a woman's body near the water. She was later identified as 37-year-old Joanna Ruth Shields from Carlsbad, California. Early reports from the scene described visible injuries, including a head wound and markings around her neck. At the time, those markings raised serious concern, with some fearing they could point to something more sinister. Hikers also reported encountering a man nearby, who claimed to be her friend and said she had gone into the water shortly before being found unresponsive. But as the investigation progressed, authorities revealed an important update. The markings around her neck were not signs of strangulation. Instead, investigators now believe they were caused by insect activity. Despite this clarification, questions still remain. The exact cause of death has not yet been confirmed, with toxicology results still pending. No arrests have been made, and officials have not determined exactly what happened in her final moments. Before we continue, this footage may be upsetting. A channel called Animal Shelters Near Me shared a heartbreaking video from August 18, 2019. A group of cyclists were riding along a wooded trail in Portugal when one of them slowed down after noticing something unusual just off the path, near a tree. As they got closer, they realized it was a dog, tied tightly to the tree with a rope, restricting its movement. It quickly became clear the animal had been deliberately abandoned. The cyclists immediately shifted from confusion to concern, knowing the dog wouldn't survive long on its own. Thankfully, in this case, the animal was found in time and could be rescued. But situations like this are difficult to understand, because leaving an animal like that behind shows a level of cruelty that's hard to comprehend. No animal deserves to be treated that way. A TikTok user went randonauting and followed coordinates that led them to a quiet, isolated spot deep in the woods. When they arrived, they found something unexpected. A small memorial set up for a girl who was murdered on October 13, 1983. Her case was never solved. The area was completely empty. No one else around. And the memorial looked like it had been there for a long time. It wasn't something they expected to find, especially in such a random location. Some believe it's just coincidence, since randonauting can lead you anywhere. Others think it's strange how often these locations seem connected to real events. So was there something more behind where they ended up that day? On the evening of Saturday, February 14, 2026, a 60-year-old man named Stephen Neal from the village of A in Dumfries in Galloway, Scotland, went missing. He was last seen around 7 p.m, driving away in his matte black camper van with green wheels and trim. After that, he never returned home. By the next day, when no one had heard from him and there was still no sign of him, concern quickly grew and he was officially reported missing. Police believed he may have headed into Galloway Forest Park, a vast remote area covering hundreds of square kilometers of dense wilderness. Search efforts quickly began. Mountain rescue teams and a police helicopter scoured the forest and surrounding roads, but there were no confirmed sightings of Stephen or his van. With harsh conditions and such a massive search area, concerns continued to grow. Some believed he may have become lost or stranded deep within the forest. Others feared something more unexpected may have happened after he drove off. But then, an update. Police confirmed that Stephen Neal had been found. No further details were released. A person was driving at around 3 a.m. in heavy rain looking for a place to stay the night when they came across this on the side of the road. A group of people was standing in a circle holding hands. They were moving their arms in a synchronized pattern, almost like they were performing some kind of ritual. Because of the weather and low visibility, it was hard to clearly see what they were doing or why they were gathered there in the middle of the night. Maybe it was just a group wearing raincoats, but it still looked creepy. Instagram user SquatchWatch1 shared photos and a clip of what is believed to be a kappa, a Japanese river creature from folklore. The footage showed a figure near the water. When zoomed in, the features seem to match descriptions of a kappa, but it all looks a little suspicious. Maybe a costume, maybe AI. Or do you believe it could really be true? Instagram user primeclip.io shared a clip filmed in a swamp in a thick forest. It showed a long, thick shape beneath the water that looks large enough to be around 30 feet long. It could be a green anaconda, one of the largest snakes on Earth, known to grow up to 20 to 30 feet and relying on strength rather than venom. It's described as a predator that hides in rivers and swamps, waiting before striking with crushing force. But it's hard to judge scale, and it could also be something closer to the camera than it appears. Still, it's a terrifying scene. A group of young men were walking at night near a swamp when they started hearing faint sounds in the distance. Instead of walking away, they pulled out their phones, turned on their flashlights, and slowly moved closer to figure out what was making the noise.
अरे यू भाई वो देखो मम्मी मेरी बात सुनी नहीं अरे वहां पर खड़ा वो अरे मेरी बात सुन बच्चा मतलब ये सुन ले बच्चा बच्चा मैं कह रहा हूं अरे बच्चा नहीं यू भाई बड़ा है यार ये तो देखा है मेरे को यार वहां तो कैमरे की यार पूरी पूंछ वगैरह पूरी देखी मैंने क्या किया यू भाई इससे तो नहीं कोई देखूंगा.
What makes the clip even more unsettling is that nothing is ever clearly seen. Only a deep, low moan coming from the darkness. In a place like that, at night, with sounds you can't explain, it's enough to make anyone uneasy. So what was out there in the dark? TikToker Ever After Aya went on a hike with her boyfriend when something unexpected happened. According to her, they started the trail together, but at some point he dumped her and left her behind. As the hike continued, she could no longer keep up or find him again. Alone in a remote area, the situation quickly became stressful. Many people online compared the story to the idea of alpine divorce, a disturbing term used to describe cases where someone is abandoned in the mountains and left to their fate, or in extreme cases, intentionally placed in danger. Just this year, an Austrian climber was convicted of manslaughter after abandoning his less experienced girlfriend on Grossglockner mountain, where she later died from hypothermia. During the investigation, it was also revealed he'd allegedly done something similar to a previous girlfriend years earlier, though she survived. Fortunately, Ever After Aya made it back safely on her own, but abandoning someone in a remote environment, especially in difficult terrain, can quickly become dangerous. A person had just gotten into their car after hiking, after feeling like they were being followed by something. Once inside, they saw what it was. It was a mountain lion. Would they have been attacked if they stayed outside? A woman was hiking alone through a quiet, isolated forest. While recording, she suddenly heard this.
Okay, what the fuck?
A long, stretched-out scream coming from deep within the trees. She described it as something that didn't sound fully human, but also didn't match any animal she could recognize. Eventually, she chose to move away from the area instead of investigating further. Was it just a known animal echoing through the forest, or something else? A person was scrolling through Google Maps and decided to zoom into a random wooded area, checking out different locations to camp. As the image loaded, he spotted something creepy. Sitting up in a tree was what looked like a person, clearly visible among the branches. It all seemed very strange, especially with how isolated the area appeared. Some think it's just someone who happened to be climbing a tree right when the Google Maps car passed by. Or was it someone intentionally trying to appear in the image? But why does this person's face seem so grey? It just doesn't look normal. One morning, a homeowner was checking their security camera footage from the night before, after noticing their back porch had been disturbed. That's when they saw something unusual. Suddenly, something moved across the frame at high speed. As it paused, a nearby plant lifted into the air, reacting to whatever had just flown by. But because of how fast it happened, it's almost impossible to tell what the camera actually captured. There's no clear shape, no obvious explanation. So what do you think that was? A camper was setting up camp when they suddenly noticed something unusual hovering just above the treetops. At first they thought it might be a drone, but the longer they looked, the less it made sense. The object didn't move like anything familiar. Its shape wasn't clear, and it didn't resemble any aircraft most people would recognize. The camper watched it until it suddenly disappeared. He posted the footage to Facebook, but no one had answers. He said it seemed completely silent in the woods, and he didn't get the feeling there were other people around. With no clear explanation, the footage leaves only questions behind. On October 15, 2015, a man was stealth camping deep in the woods and set up a trail camera nearby. The next morning, he checked the footage, wondering if any wildlife had passed through. But what he found shocked him. In one frame, a figure could be seen, partially hidden behind a tree. It appeared to resemble a young girl, with long dark hair, wearing what looked like a dress. Some believe it could have been a person wandering through the woods, but in a place that remote in the middle of the night, who would be out there like that? Whatever was near his campsite that night remains a mystery, and he didn't stay to find out. Reddit user That Ginger Hippie was hiking around a swamp when they came across various photos and film scattered on the ground. They found multiple items spread out in the area, including printed photographs, personal-looking belongings, and older items like clothing and CDs. Some think it was the result of a burglary, where stolen items were dumped after valuables were taken. Others believe it could be someone discarding memories after an emotional event. Who did these memories belong to, and why were they scattered there? TikTok user Natasha Myers 49 shared a video of a visit to a creek with a disturbing reputation. According to the explanation, the area wasn't always like this. Years ago, people used explosives to create a swimming hole, but it accidentally opened up an underwater cavern system beneath it. Since then, the water in certain spots has been known to pull downward. If someone jumps in the wrong place or swims too deep, they can get caught in a strong current leading into the cave system below. Over time, multiple drownings and disappearances have reportedly been linked to this location. The exact path of the underwater tunnels is still unknown, with only the exit points of the water being understood. 2 American sisters were found deep in the woods after nearly 2 days missing in Humboldt County, California. The girls, aged 8 and 5, had reportedly wandered away from a familiar area and eventually became lost in the forest. Search teams there tracked their movement using a trail of candy wrappers they had dropped along the way. During their time in the wilderness, they survived by staying together, drinking water from natural sources like berry bushes, and relying on basic survival knowledge they had learned from their father. Eventually, they decided to stay in one place instead of continuing to move, which helped rescuers locate them after an extensive search. Authorities later confirmed they were found exhausted but alive after roughly 44 hours in the forest. Thanks to their smart decisions, they made it out. A man was hiking alone in the Appalachian Mountains at night when he heard rustling and realized he wasn't alone. 2 bright lights appeared in the darkness, low and steady, as if something was watching him from a distance. He stopped moving and tried to focus his flashlight toward the area, but the lights remained fixed, unmoving, unreactive. After a few tense moments, they disappeared back into the darkness. And somehow, that made it worse. He quietly ended his hike and got out of there as fast as he could, not knowing if whatever was out there might be following him. It could have just been a deer. But what if it was a bear, or a mountain lion, or something worse? When a person reviewed their trail camera placed deep in a forest, they were shocked by what they saw. A large, dark, upright figure appeared between the tree trunks. Some believe the footage matches classic descriptions associated with Bigfoot sightings reported for decades. Others argue it could simply be a misidentified known animal, caught at an unusual angle or partially obscured by darkness and vegetation. or maybe just a person, even though that seemed very unlikely to the trail cam owner. The figure remains unidentified. A clip surfaced online from someone claiming they had found and entered Area 51. The footage showed 3 glowing orbs hovering in the sky. Then, strangely, the orbs began to merge into one, and just as quickly split apart again. They repeated this motion over and over, almost as if testing some kind of technology. But honestly, the surroundings don't look very desert-like, which makes the Area 51 claim questionable. So what's real here? And what's fake? This person was hiking just outside Chicago when they noticed something moving through the forest and managed to capture it on video. It looked like a massive reptilian creature, walking on either 2 or 4 legs. A long, thick tail trailed just inches above the ground. The proportions felt unnatural, and its movements didn't match anything human. Some argue it could be an unknown animal. Others point to local folklore, giant reptilian sightings, and even reports like the Chicago Mothman suggest strange creatures have been seen in the area for decades. But could something like this really exist? At least I have never seen a costume like that before. A passerby was walking through a graveyard when they saw what looked like a typical statue. But then, it moved. According to the uploader, it wasn't a person. It was supposed to be a statue. This must be edited or staged, right? What else would explain this? A man was walking through a national park in Salford, England, when something about a nearby tree made him stop. There, in the bark, was what looked like a face. Carved into it, or perhaps naturally formed, perfectly positioned, and somehow it appeared to be smiling.
Tree?
The longer he looked at it, the more uneasy he became. So how did a face like that form so perfectly on a tree? A hiker was walking through the Appalachian Mountains when she stopped to record the scale of the forest. As she filmed, a sound echoed in the distance.
I'm on the Appalachian Trail, and I just heard a voice.
At first, it seemed far away, easy to ignore, so she kept moving. Then it came again, closer this time. The tone of it wasn't clear, but it was enough to make her uneasy. Not waiting for a third time, she turned around and left the area. In parts of the Appalachians, there's a saying passed down through locals. If you hear something calling you, no, you didn't. Some people online refer to this idea as the mimic, a supposed presence that imitates voices or sounds to draw attention. But in reality, forests like these are filled with animals whose calls can sound surprisingly human. Foxes, owls, and even deer can produce cries that are easily mistaken. So what did she really hear out there? Just wildlife echoing through the mountains? Or something else out there, hidden in the Appalachians? A camper captured interesting footage while traveling along a quiet road. Above the landscape, a large group of birds appeared suspended in midair. The entire flock seemed frozen in place, as if time had stopped mid-flight. Was it a natural phenomenon, an edited clip, or a glitch in the Matrix? So far, no one has the answer. Facebook user Stephen Wilson got this video from his friend who was on a camping trip in Australia. As the woman reached for the handle, she felt something odd. She asked someone else nearby to help and started recording.
It's bloody super spider. Oh, Jesus!
A spider leg could be seen sticking out from the door handle area, and not a small one. Always check your car handles, I guess. A homeowner felt like she was being watched for several days. She started noticing a strange presence outside her home at night, especially when she stepped outside or scanned the area with a light. Then she caught this on camera. Each time the light moved toward them, the figures seemed to disappear or shift out of view. It could simply be wildlife like coyotes or other nocturnal animals moving around the area. But viewers felt the behavior seems too deliberate. There were also suggestions linking it to various cryptid-type theories, though nothing in the video confirms anything beyond the eyes themselves. Instagram user The Confessional Podcast shared photos of what appeared to be captured by a trail camera. What stands out in these photos is a black shape between the trees. It's hard to make out exactly what it is, suggesting it could just be a bear. But what's strange about it is that in the sequence of the images, the eyes seem to change colour from white to red across different frames. The uploader describes it as possibly resembling a dog-man type creature. The identity of the black shape remains a mystery. Two campers were staying in a cabin in the snowy mountains of Colorado when they heard sounds on the roof. When they went to take a look, they saw an animal they couldn't identify. It looked animal-like, but not entirely. It could be a wolverine or another wildlife species seen at a strange angle. But some think it resembles descriptions of dogman sightings reported in different parts of the US. So was it just a misidentified animal on a roof, or something that doesn't quite fit any known species? The campers never found out. A group of friends were camping in the woods in Jefferson County, Pennsylvania, when they suddenly heard rustling behind them. Thinking something was following them, they ran and hid, trying to stay quiet while looking back into the trees. That's when one of them noticed something standing in the distance. A large human-like figure became visible between the trees. One of them took this photo before they left the woods entirely. To this day, they have no idea what was standing there, but the photo still gives them chills. This one went out into the woods around 3 a.m. to perform what she described as a summoning ritual. Summoning rituals are often believed to be ceremonies meant to call upon spiritual beings, such as angels or demons. On the ground, stones were arranged in a rough circle. At the center, she stood, wearing a white gown, moving slowly, in an unusual, almost trance-like way. The whole scene feels unsettling. Imagine walking alone through the woods at that hour and seeing something like that. It would make most people uneasy. So what would you have done if you came across her out there in the middle of the night? While walking through a quiet neighborhood, this person began noticing something strange appearing on lampposts and street corners. It looked like an ordinary flyer, but once they read it, things took a strange turn. It advertised a job offering $100 a day. The role asked for someone to pretend to be a patient, lying in a bed while a woman fed them, dressed them, and cared for them as if they were completely bedridden. The flyer even showed an image of several men lying side by side in what looked like hospital beds, with one empty spot waiting to be filled. No official company name, no clear explanation, just a number to call. Was this just a strange job offer, or something much more disturbing happening behind closed doors? A female hiker in Mill Creek Canyon shared a terrifying experience that left her hesitant to return to one of her favorite trails. Early one Sunday morning, she was walking with her dog when a man approached. At first, he seemed harmless, asking to pet her dog and even reading its name from the tag. But soon, things changed. The man began following her,
saying my dog's name, trying to get them to come over to the other side of the creek,
hiding in the bushes and repeatedly calling her dog's name, trying to lure it to the other side of the creek. Despite her requests for him to stop, he continued. Realizing the situation was escalating and that she was in an isolated area with no cell phone service, she quickly put her dog on a leash and turned back toward her car. Thankfully, she made it out unharmed, but things could have ended very differently. TikTok user Jesse Chug shared a video after their dad made a strange discovery in their back field. Buried in the ground was a car. They had no idea how long it had been there, or what might still be inside. There were no clear markings, no obvious explanation. Some believe it could be something more serious, possibly hidden there intentionally. Others think it might just be an old abandoned vehicle, slowly buried over time by natural changes in the land. But finding something like that so close to home raises questions. TikTok user Jane Moonville was walking in a forest in Germany, where she found creepy markings and structures deep in the woods. In the clip, she shows what looks like an Illuminati symbol carved on the wall, along with a human-shaped hollow in the terrain and a recently used fire pit nearby. The area appears isolated, with no clear signs of a campsite or people around. Later in her walk, she also claims to have found a weird journal, but forgot to take pictures. Something really creepy must have happened there. TikTok user 5 Nights at Valle Paricio went on a hike and explored Parque Acuático Valle Paricio in Mexico. While there, they came across something unusual. What they described as an animatronic graveyard hidden behind the water park. The area appeared to be filled with dozens of dinosaur animatronics, all stored together in a large outdoor space. Many of them looked damaged, weathered, or partially dismantled. There were no clear signs of maintenance, or any reason why they were left there like that. Everything about the place felt off, and seeing so many lifeless figures gathered in one spot only added to the uneasy atmosphere. So, would you explore a place like this? TikToker Texas Ghost Hunters posted a claimed Civil War ghost photo from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. The photo was taken during a hike, just a casual shot of their surroundings. But when they later reviewed their photos, a figure appeared to be standing under a tree. Some believe it could be a natural shadow or a distortion caused by lighting and camera quality. Others think it resembles reports of apparitions often linked to Gettysburg's history, described as the spirits of fallen soldiers. While hiking, someone came across what looked like a fluffy patch of fur stuck to a rock, but when they touched it, it turned out to be something else. It was a large group of daddy-long-legged spiders gathered together. Although they are harmless to people, the sight of it makes many people uneasy. So here's a tip: never touch these things. A group of archaeologists reportedly discovered a chest containing unusual skulls marked with a symbol believed to be linked to a German occult organization. This group is known for searching for relics and artifacts, often surrounded by mystery and speculation. Inside, the skulls had very unusual features. The shape appeared elongated at the top, with large eye sockets and an extended jaw structure that didn't match typical human anatomy. Some people suggest they could be ancient remains that were deformed over time. Others believe they might be linked to extraterrestrial ideas. A man was hiking deeper into a forest when something ahead of him suddenly made him stop. He spotted a strange figure with an oddly shaped head, looking down as if it was focused on something. Then it straightened up. Its full height became clear, revealing a tall, hunched body that didn't resemble any known animal. The man stayed completely still. After a few seconds, the creature looked away and continued walking. Did it notice the man, or intentionally ignore him? The hiker left the trail shortly after. A young couple was on holiday in New Zealand's Bay of Plenty when extreme weather suddenly turned deadly. On January 22, 2026, record-breaking rainfall triggered a landslide at the base of Mount Maunganui, crashing into the beachside holiday park where people were camping. The slide struck without warning, sending mud, rocks, and debris into tents, camper vans, and buildings, trapping people beneath it. Emergency crews rushed to the scene. Firefighters, police, sniffer dogs, and specialist teams searched through the unstable ground, racing against time. In the early hours, there were reports of voices coming from beneath the rubble. People trapped, calling out for help. But the conditions were extremely dangerous. Rescuers were eventually forced to pull back at times due to the risk of further collapses. Authorities struggled to even determine how many people were missing, as some campers had already left the area without being accounted for. At least 6 people were feared missing at one stage, including a child. While in a separate nearby landslide, 2 people were confirmed dead after a home was destroyed. As search efforts continued, uncertainty and fear gripped the community. And with shifting ground and limited access, some areas remained unreachable, leaving one haunting question: how many people were still trapped beneath the landslide? A person hiking on a forest trail was filming their walk when something unusual appeared near a tree beside the path. In the footage, a small whitish shape can be seen forming in the air, almost like a faint mist, taking on a figure-like outline. It only lasts for a few seconds before quickly fading out of view, leaving nothing behind. The hiker didn't seem to notice it at the time of recording. Some believe it could be natural, fog, moisture, or light distortion caught at the perfect moment. Others think the shape and the timing make it feel like something more. Maybe a ghost. During a hike through a national park, this person was looking up at the stars when something caught his attention. High above him, something unusual hovered in the sky. It gave off a bright, steady glow, and its shape didn't match anything familiar. It wasn't clearly a plane or a drone, and it didn't move like anything he recognized. So what exactly did he witness that night? A homeowner living next to a national park shared footage from a motion-activated camera placed in their yard. During the night, the camera detected movement. Not unusual for a property near the forest, but what appeared in the footage didn't resemble any known animal. A tall, white shape moved slowly across the yard. Because the motion sensor was triggered, something physical had to pass through its range. Some believe it could be a natural effect, like mist, condensation, or light distortion captured under the right conditions. Others think it resembles descriptions of strange figures often reported in wooded areas. Whatever it was, the footage offers no clear answer, leaving one question behind. What was really moving through that yard that night? YouTuber UV Parjapti Vlogs was filming while exploring a park when he saw something he couldn't explain and started recording. From the ground, two hands could be seen emerging from the soil, one green and one black. The surrounding area looked empty, with no visible person or clear explanation for where the movement was coming from. Could it be a staged setup or props placed for effect? Whatever it was, it looked disturbing. A camera in England noticed unusual bright lights in the sky around 3:30 a.m. Quickly, she grabbed her camera to record. The lights seemed to belong to a large object hovering above the ground. The glow was intense enough to illuminate parts of the surrounding area. What was hovering over England that night? And did anyone else actually see it? A woman named Sarah Gibbs was hiking alone on the 215-kilometre Goldfields track in regional Victoria when she experienced something deeply unsettling near Daylesford. She had been documenting her solo journey online, hoping to encourage other women to take on long-distance hiking adventures alone. But around 160 kilometers into the trail, something happened that changed the experience completely. Near Lake Daylesford, Sarah noticed movement coming from the bushes. At first, she thought it was a kangaroo. But then a man suddenly emerged and quickly approached her. Feeling uneasy, she immediately turned on her phone and began recording. She later alleged the man touched her hair and hand, used sexually explicit language, and tried guiding her away from the main path toward a more isolated area in the bush. Realizing the situation could become dangerous, she stayed calm and kept moving until they reached a nearby campsite. Then, while he was distracted, she ran. After escaping, she contacted the police. But according to Sarah, she felt the response was limited and no immediate action was taken at the scene. When she later shared her experience online, other women came forward claiming they had experienced similar encounters with a man matching the same description in the Daylesford area. A Reddit user known as Anastasia Kiki shared a photo their friend had taken while out on a walk. She had posted it on Instagram, not realizing she may have captured something unsettling. At first glance, everything looked completely normal, just a simple nature photo. But when the Reddit user looked at the photo, something in the background immediately caught his attention. A human-like figure, standing at a distance. The shape didn't look quite right, with parts of the body appearing unclear, almost incomplete. At first they assumed it was edited, even messaging her, asking her how she created the effect. But the response made it more unsettling. She claimed she hadn't edited the image, and hadn't noticed anything while taking the photo. After seeing it herself, she was just as disturbed. A woman named Angelica Papase was on a trip with her daughter when she recorded her singing in the backseat of their car. But without realizing it, she may have captured something unsettling. Next to her daughter, a faint, pale shape appeared on the seat. It didn't match the color or texture and almost looked like a small, childlike figure sitting beside her. At one point, her daughter even glances to the side, as if reacting to something there. When Angelica shared the video on Facebook, viewers quickly pointed it out. She later mentioned that years earlier she had captured something similar in a photo taken inside her kitchen, a faint human-like shape in the background. Some believe both moments can be explained by lighting, reflections, or camera artifacts. Others think the similarities are too strong to ignore. A woman went hiking along the Billy Goat Trail when she encountered an uncomfortable situation with a man on the path. During the interaction, the man approached her and began asking strange personal questions while they were still alone on the trail. At one point, he asked her if she considered herself a daddy's girl, claiming he was conducting a survey. The exchange continued briefly on camera, before she chose to stop recording and move away from the area.
Do you admit that you are a daddy's girl? It's a yes or no question, ma'am.
You're a freak.
Many viewers felt the interaction crossed a line, especially in such an isolated environment. So if someone makes you uncomfortable while you're alone outdoors, trust your instincts, because situations like this can go quickly from awkward to genuinely unsettling. A woman was driving alone at night when she suddenly noticed road spikes laid out across the road ahead. She slowed down and started filming the scene. The road around her was empty and poorly lit, with no clear sign of who put them there. She then realized it could be a setup to stop vehicles, possibly for theft or something more dangerous nearby. She turned around and left immediately, realizing what danger she may have been in. On October 8th, 1976, a 16-year-old student named Teresa Trenny Lynn Gibson was on a school field trip in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park when something unexpected happened. She was hiking with around 40 classmates, making her way back from a trail toward the parking area. At some point, she moved slightly ahead of the group. Witnesses later said she seemed to be in a hurry to get back, but when the rest of the students reached the bus, she was gone. Search efforts began almost immediately. Dozens of people, including trained dogs, combed the mountains for days. Her scent was picked up along nearby trails, even leading toward a road, but then it suddenly disappeared. No belongings were found, no clear signs of what happened. Some believe she may have gotten lost in the wilderness. Others think she could have encountered someone on the trail. But after decades, no one knows how a girl surrounded by her classmates simply vanished without a trace. A young woman was walking through an underground tunnel when she noticed a man behind her.
Alright, just to update you, it was just one guy over there.
The tunnel was empty, and it was just the two of them. Not knowing his intentions, she took out her phone and began recording, talking to the camera as she made her way toward the exit. She later said she wasn't sure if he was just a person or something worse. As she got closer to the end of the tunnel, she picked up her pace and finally made it out safely. Later, it turned out the man was just a normal person who tried to catch up because he found her interesting, which, honestly, still sounds super inappropriate and scary. TikTok user Leanne1818 shared a video of her son playing outside in a pile of autumn leaves. At first, everything seems normal as the boy throws leaves around and walks across the yard. But at one point, he suddenly pauses, almost like he notices something nearby. A second later, he falls backward in a way that doesn't look like a normal trip. It appears as if something pushes him from behind, even though no one is close to him. The uploader later said they had just moved into the area at the time, and not long after this happened, they ended up leaving. They also mentioned that other strange things had happened to their son before, but didn't go into detail. Some people think the child simply lost balance or fell while playing, but the family is convinced an unseen force was involved. A woman was returning home late at night after running errands when she started feeling like something wasn't right. The area around her felt unusually tense, so she pulled out her phone and began recording as she walked toward her house. In the background, her dog could be heard barking non-stop. As she moved the camera around, something suddenly startled her. Later, when the footage was slowed down, for just a brief moment, a dark figure could be seen, standing in the shadows. It was only visible for a second, but enough to raise questions. Some believe it could have been a person, others think it might be shadows or lighting, creating the illusion of a figure. So was there really someone there, or did her instincts react to something that wasn't actually there? A person recorded footage showing a group of women dressed in black clothing and robes standing in the woods. They were arranged in a perfect circle, each holding a candle. Some think it could be a cultural or spiritual ceremony being misinterpreted, but viewed without context, this looks terrifying. Imagine coming across this in the woods in the middle of the night. Two men crossed into a restricted forest area where signs clearly warned people not to go further. One of the men is already up in a tree, holding on tightly and shouting down. A few seconds later, the second man rushes into frame and climbs up after him. Both of them are clearly terrified. Then, a figure appears behind them. It's large, dark, and walking on two legs with a heavy build. Some suggest it could be a bear seen at a strange angle, while others point out that its posture and movement don't really match any known animal, more like Bigfoot. Unfortunately, they didn't give any explanations, leaving us all guessing. A woman returned home one day and immediately noticed her dogs barking non-stop. As she started recording, a faint sound could be heard in the background. It sounded like a woman crying. When it was later uploaded online, some connected it to the legend of La Llorona, a figure said to wander at night crying. Others believe it sounds more like an animal call. A woman was hiking alone in the mountains of India when a man approached her, asking for a photo. She politely declined and told him to stop following her. But he continued to trail her along the path, ignoring her requests.
A picture. I don't want to take a picture with you. Can you stop following me?
The footage captures the tension as the woman tries to keep her distance, while the man never strays far behind. Some suggest it could have been a misunderstanding, while others feel his persistence hints that his intentions were not just to take a photo. In 1985, survival instructor Susan Purvis led a group of inner-city kids on an outdoor program in the Utah desert. Splitting from another group, she took a shortcut with a teenage girl, thinking they'd reach their meeting point faster. Instead, they got lost as darkness fell and rain approached. Tension mounted as Purvis's frustration grew, while the girl cried from exhaustion. They stumbled upon a primitive wiki-up shelter just in time, huddling together to survive the night. By the next day, rescuers found them after a 15-hour search, and thankfully, they were fully safe and sound. A woman was swimming along the rugged Pacific coastline when she was swept away by a strong current, eventually reaching the rocky edge in a desperate bid for safety. She clung to the steep cliff, waves crashing violently 70 feet below her, unable to find stable footing. A nearby helicopter recorded every tense moment as rescue crews sprang into action. A firefighter rappelled down the cliff, securing ropes and guiding her carefully. After a nerve-wracking climb, the hero held onto her until she could be safely lifted to the cliff top, where other rescuers awaited. Luckily, the woman made it out unharmed. But if the rescuers hadn't arrived in time, the situation could have gotten worse. A woman was hiking when she came across this weird scene. A group of ants were moving in a strange circular pattern on the ground. The behavior is known as an ant mill or death spiral, where ants can end up stuck following pheromone trails in a continuous circle with no clear exit. Some say it's a rare but natural navigation error in ant colonies. It's unsettling how something so simple can trap them in an endless loop of movement for the rest of their lives. A woman in North America was on her way to a hike when she noticed something unusual. Resting on the ground in the distance was a massive, smooth sphere. The object appeared perfectly rounded, almost unnatural against the landscape. People quickly compared it to similar sightings reported in other countries, where strange spherical objects had appeared under unclear circumstances. Some believe it could be experimental technology or some kind of surveillance device. Others think it resembles objects often linked to unidentified phenomena. But without any clear explanation, the sight left people questioning what it really was. This video may be over, but the terrifying encounters continue.